Okay, welcome to my channel. This is Novas TV, and of course this is another video that I'm dropping for you this week. This week we'll be talking about coronavirus. Of course, coronavirus has been the topic for discussion over the weeks, but today I want to move a little bit from that to what I call predictions. The last time on my channel I talked about the prediction of one of the American authors, the Cons, who predicted this particular virus. That was what people were saying, and then I went into the book. I tried to look at what he said, and then I linked it to coronavirus, and at the end we were able to realize that it was just the name where it originated from and the signs and symptoms that the Cons was able to predict, and of course the year to which was 2020. But this was a fictional novel. Now another one has popped up, which people have seen it circulating on social media and all of that. You can see it up here. That's Nostradamus. But before I go ahead to talk about Nostradamus, I want to talk about another prediction. That's Sylvia Browne. Sylvia Browne is also seen to have predicted the coronavirus in her book. But I must say that Sylvia Browne picked that particular section from the Cons book. Because if you look at what the Cons wrote, that's the same thing that was picked from the Cons book and then was republished in Sylvia Browne's book. If you look at Sylvia Browne's book, that was published in 2008. But if you look at the Cons book, it was published in somewhere around 1981. So it was more or less like it was picked from the Cons book, because the same wording and everything, and then republished in Sylvia Browne's book in 2008. Sylvia Browne is considered to be a psychopath. When we talk about psychopath is somebody who manipulates people, who violates people for his or her own benefit. And then it is also said that she predicted her own death. So you can read about Sylvia Browne. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can go and read more about Sylvia Browne. But today we want to talk about Nostradamus. Nostradamus was a French writer. His real name, or his full name, is Michael de Nostradamus. But if you just want to go by the Nostradamus, you don't say Nostradamus, but you say Nostradamus. And then that was somewhere around the 1500s. If you look at Nostradamus was a physician. He was an apothecary and also a writer. When we talk about physician is a doctor. When we talk about apothecary is somebody who mixes or who put things together in order to prepare medicine, whether trees or whether from animals. So that is an apothecary. You make medicines out of naturally existing things like trees, like animals, and then other stuff. But why are people saying that he predicted the coronavirus? Look at this picture over here, or look at what is circulating. And then what is circulating, you can see on the inscription that Nostradamus wrote in the year 1551 this: there will be a 20-year 2020 from which will arise a queen, and then they put into brackets corona, who will come from the East, China, and who will spread a plague, and then into bracket virus, in the darkness of the night on a country with 7 hills, which is perceived to be Italy, and will transform the twilight of men into dust, death. That's death, to destroy and ruin the world. It will be the end of the world economy as you know. I must say that this is an edited version. The real one was published. All these predictions were put into poems, and then it was published in 1555. They just put all the poems together, which was written in French, and then it was published in 1555. So all these writings were in French, and people have tried to transform it or transcribe it to the English language, and in doing that, it'll have different forms. But this particular one was edited to put the year, which is the 2020, to put the China, to put the virus, to put the Italy, and all of that, and then the death as well. But let's look at the real thing, the real writing that was written, even though it was written in French. But this was the actual wordings from the French transcription, which is: the sloping pack, great calamity through the lands of the West and Lombardy, the fire in the ship, plague and captivity, Mercury in Sagittarius, Saturn fading. This was the poem, if you want to transcribe it from French to English word by word. But we have another forms in the English language which people have also transcribed from the French to the English language. Now let's look at this. If you look at this, personally, I don't see any similarity between what was written and then the coronavirus. Even though people have tried to put in wordings like China, people say the calamity refers to the sloping park great calamity. They said around Wuhan there is a sloping water or whatever. So that is the sloping park refers to, I'm talking about the original transcription. That is, the sloping park refers to the park or the water fall around Wuhan, and then through the lands of the west. They say through the lands of the west, meaning the European, the Australian countries, and then the Lombardy. Lombardy is more a place in Italy. And then the fire in the ships, plague and captivity. They are saying the plague also refers to the virus, and then captivity refers to the lockdown that most of the countries are experiencing now. And then Mercury in Sagittarius also referring to somewhere around 23rd June. This one is more astronomical. 23rd June we have the Saturn, Saturn fading off, or when we look at it, Saturn is one of the planets, and around 23rd it goes off, so you don't see it again, so fading off. And it happened somewhere around 23rd January. And if you look at 23rd January is when China recorded about 6 deaths and then 866 cases. So they are trying to relate all this to the poem of Nostradamus in the year 1555. Personally, I don't see any relationship between this poem, which was written by Michael the Nostradamus, and then the coronavirus, which is happening right now. What I personally think is that people are trying to find out old literatures, and then they are trying to relate the pandemic or the corona or the COVID-19 pandemic to it. If we look at it, this is not new. It's not new to me at all, especially with those of us who have been reading a lot of literatures about a lot of the pandemics that have happened in the world over the years. If you look at the Black Death, which is seen to be the highest to have hit the world, which happened in the 14th century, the same thing was attributed, or that was the same thing people were, even physicians who were treating people were attributing it to. It was based on religious and then belief medicine. It was not evidence, or it wasn't based on evidential medicine. Now we have what we call evidence-based medicine, where you have to show evidence for whatever is happening. If you are saying it's malaria, what shows that the person is having malaria? You do the malaria test, and then parasite, you see the 40 parasites or whatever, and then you'll be able to clearly or evidently say that the person is having malaria. But that time it was based on belief and then religion. So most of the things that were happening was attributed to people having committed sins and then God punishing them for that. Even the physicians at that time, they did not understand the mode of transmission of most of these plagues that were happening and all of that. If you look at the Black Death, for instance, it happened in the 14th century. It was somewhere around the 19th century that one of the French scientists was able to state that it was a bacteria which is called the Yersinia pestis, which was causing that particular plague as at that time. So look at how long it took them to be able to know that it was a certain bacteria that was causing what is called the Black Death. You can also read about the Black Death plague on the internet, whether by Google or all of that. So this is the Nostradamus poem and then its relation to coronavirus. Personally, I don't see why people are trying to relate it and say it was a prediction. Probably because Nostradamus is seen as one of the famous prophets of all time, because he said that he was able to predict, or in his poems predicted the rise and fall of Adolf Hitler, the Great Fire in London, and so many happenings that did happen. They normally attribute it to his poem. And the collection of poems that were published in 1555 was also named Les Prophéties, more or less like prophecies that are yet to, you know, happen and all of that. So that is the relationship, and people have started sharing it on social media. Meanwhile, they don't even know the original form of the poem. This one is an edited, so people just edited and put the years, the virus name and all of that, but none of those were mentioned. Even though poems, you need an in-depth knowledge or more knowledge in literature in order to understand it. But when you read this particular line that is picked from the collection of poems, it doesn't really point out the fact that coronavirus will happen in the year 2020. No year was stated, and then these I see it more or less like coincidence. That is, you know, more or less like it's a coincidence that Lombardy is Italy and Italy is experiencing it. It's not only in Italy that we are experiencing this pandemic, it's all over the world. All over the world. It's just about 6 countries now which have not experienced it yet, which is good for them. But as it stands now, this is the relationship between Nostradamus and then COVID-19. And then again, I'm bringing it down to Ghana here. Ghana here, people have started attributing religious and then religious belief to this particular COVID-19 that is happening. People have started saying that if you open your Bible, you see a hair. Somebody actually said she had a revelation that God said you should open the Bible, and then when she opens the Bible, she'll see a hair. The direction was that put the hair in water and drink, or put the hair in water and bath it, and then you will not get these, you will not contract coronavirus even if you come into contact with a coronavirus patient, which is also circulating on the internet right now. So people are opening their Bibles and they are showing the hair and then the verses from which the hair was directly lying. Some of them are 2 hairs and all of that, which is also circulating. Another one which is also circulating is our own ofori amponsah song, which let's just take a look at the song, the portion of the song, and then we'll see.
America, Russia, Minimpa, and Tawa Beba. The year 2020, too soon, Katayasia, Equama, Messa, if I was a better.
So he said that he made mention of 2020, he made mention of a plague, or made mention of a war that was happening. You know, he mentioned this. If you don't understand Chi, what he's basically saying is that there will be a calamity in the year 2020, and he made mention of some countries' names, as in, you know, the ones we heard or the ones we've just seen in the video. So basically, that is it. That is that is the predictions that people are giving, and then that is the directive people say that they are getting from God and all of that. Let me know what you think about the predictions and all of that in this video in the comments below. Please, if you are new to my channel, also like and subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and also like my page on Facebook, which is Nostradamus TV. You can see all of them rolling down here. For sponsorship and for partnership, you can also call the numbers that are rolling down on your screen. Until we see ourselves again, it's a bye for now.